Welcome to Successful Parenting, where we, Jackie Rue and Robin Choquette, share practical skills for families to build resilience and healthy connections. As practicing professionals and parents ourselves, we hope this podcast is a resource for parents to grow, reflect, and learn more about themselves and their children. Our approach is simple, tangible, and most importantly, we lead with compassion for the integrity of the families we serve. This podcast should not be taken as medical advice and is intended for informational purposes only. We love our work, and we can't wait to watch families gain confidence and open themselves up to new ways of successful parenting. Hello, Jackie.
Hello, Robin. How are you doing?
I am good. It has been an interesting few weeks. I think everyone in the Midwest has had pretty intense storms, and there's been a lot of damage. It has been an interesting spring so far.
Yes, and I think it is spring, and there's a shift to a lot of our schools are getting out in the next couple of weeks, and I've been spending a lot of time talking to families and just reflecting on this year. And I have a close friend, and I was having an interesting conversation with him recently about his daughter. And we were talking about the podcast and really wanting to invite some different families on our podcast. And he had shared with me, he was very close to a family, and he thought that the family would be an excellent resource for our families as well as a gift for us. He said it was just a very special, loving family that through a story that they're going to share will not only potentially touch our lives, but the lives of our listeners. And so I was very intrigued as he was telling me about this family, and he got very emotional when he was talking about the story. And so I talked to you, and we reached out to the family, and I'm really, really grateful that they are joining us today. It is the Lopez family, Angela and Luis Lopez. They have a story to share. And, some of the conversations we have on this podcast are fun and light. And sometimes we dive into real deep topics that are, for many of us parents, as we both are, sometimes hard to hear, but important to talk about. And the more I think we do dive into real life conversations, the more we can really engage and touch the lives of our listeners, but also be there to support our listeners, because we are all going through something. And I think it's important that we remember that we need to be there for one another. So I'm really excited to welcome Luis and Angela Lopez to the podcast. So thank you both for being here. I know it takes a lot of strength, and it means a lot to us that you came on.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you both for having us.
You have such a beautiful family, and just hearing my friend talk and describe your family, it sounds like you've already impacted so many for years, not just more recently, but tell us a little bit about your family. And I know we're going to lead into talking about your son, Benjamin, who sounds like an amazing, amazing human.
Well, first, we would like to thank you, Jackie and Robin, for having us here today and allowing us to share our story. Angie and I have been married for over 23 years, and we have been blessed with 3 wonderful children. Our oldest daughter will be graduating this weekend from college, and our youngest daughter is currently now a junior in high school. Ben would have been in his second year of college, and we're so proud of him. Benjamin was a very, very special soul that understood very, very early who he was as a person. And, we'll get into more details of what that really means. Was a loving kid. He loved his sisters, loved his mother, loved his grandparents, loved me, loved his friends, his family. He cared about people. He was also a giving soul. I mean, he would do anything, and we can say that about, all of our kids. But when I say he was a special kid, he understood himself, and he did that very early in his life.
Almost like an old soul.
And it's funny you say that, because that's exactly what a lot of people refer to him as, an old soul. He would listen to all kinds of music, especially like 50s and 60s music. He loved. He got that from his grandparents. He was special because he was so caring and loving, just empathetic. Yes, he was a typical teenage boy, but at the same time, when I would talk to him on the phone, or he's hanging up with me, okay, Mom, I love you. Didn't matter who he was with. He was with his friends, a group of friends in a room. He would still tell me, I love you. He would send his sisters money for lunch. Here, send you a couple $2 for lunch. He would send me money just out of the blue. Mom, get some lunch. Just always thinking of others. We knew that about him as his parents and his family, but then later to hear stories that his friends told us and how he was with them was how he was with us.
Mm-hmm.
Just touched us even more.
I remember when, we tried to put Ben in sports, growing up, at the beginning when he was younger, throughout, his life. He knew he wasn't good at sports. and that's the honest truth. But that's what he understood about himself, But he would play, he played baseball. He was on baseball teams. He played football. They didn't even know the rules, but he would play. He played soccer. We even got him in Boy Scouts. We did the Derby together and we had no clue what we were doing. But like he would do things like that because he liked it, but understanding that he was never going to be good at it. I knew that makes him special because not many people understand that about themselves, even when they're adults,
Right. It's like he, fine, he wasn't the top of his class or the best athlete, but he had the biggest heart family. It was everybody, strangers. His sisters told stories of when they would be out and he would, wait, hold on, let me go. There would be a homeless person, in front of 7-Eleven. And he told his sister, hold on, let me go run in and buy them something. And my daughter laughs when she tells the story because she's like, Mom, he probably didn't have any money in his account. He probably had only $5. But he would spend his last $5 on somebody to help somebody.
Yeah. It's really when you talk about Benjamin or Ben, is there a preference?
Yeah, we refer to him as Ben.
Ben, okay. And so many of us can get caught up, right, in being the best or what are we doing? It was about the relationships and about being connected. It sounds like that was such a piece of him, and his legacy is such a powerful story. Can you share with us about what happened?
It was January 15th. It was a Sunday. Just like our typical Sundays, we get up and was in great spirits, good mood. Remember, he even helped us with the Christmas tree, taking it down and putting it away and things like that. But that was just a typical day. Mm-hmm. That evening, I get a call from my daughter, who was out in college, that received a text message from some friends, mutual friends that they had, that something happened to Ben, and they didn't know really what, but that he was taken to a hospital. And so, she frantically called us here, and I get the call, and she's like, I don't know what happened, but this is what I heard. So immediately I text them. I say, hey, call me as soon as you can. So wake up my wife, and we headed to the hospital. We're driving there, and to be honest with you, I didn't think anything other than, okay, we'll deal with it and we'll see what happened. And, he got injured and, he'll be fine in 3 months or something, something like that. Mm-hmm. And we get to the hospital, and they quickly told us to go to another room. And so we waited there, and doctor comes out with the nurse and introduced himself, says, well, Ben was shot. He was shot in the leg and this right hip. He was brought in by a friend, and we tried to save him, but he didn't make it. So,
I can't even imagine what that news was like to get and how you must be feeling now. I mean, there's just no words to describe, just as a parent, what that must be like.
I couldn't understand it. I said, Doc, what do you mean? I said, what do you mean? And he said, I'm sorry for your loss. And, I couldn't process the words. I knew the words they were saying, but it just couldn't go through my brain as to what does that mean. And hearing my wife's screams in the background and that pain, I fell to my floor and just was in disbelief that this is happening to our family. Said I wanted to see my son. They told me you can't. I have to see him because I wanted to make sure that was him,
Yeah.
And we were left there to grieve, to cry, to, yell. But that was so hard to take. It was very difficult for us.
Yeah.
Then finally, they didn't give you much details other than the bullet wound went in and bled inside, and they could not save his life. And that's pretty much what we were told.
And at that point, you're just searching for answers, understanding, as you said, putting pieces together.
Yeah. It's, the thing is that you're not, like, to get the news that, it's not even trying to think why, how did this happen? Or, that wasn't even the thought. It was just like, no, this can't be happening, And then, and how do we tell our girls? We can't, like, we don't even know how to do that. Like, how we're going to tell our girls they just lost their brother, And that was the second wave that was coming that we had to prepare for. And remember coming home that night and we just sat like zombies on the couch. Daughter came in from college that morning, and we told our daughters. And this is where we're at.
Well, and I know you have a very close-knit family. I can't even imagine how this has impacted your family, just the loss of Ben and what that must be like for your family. How has your family been doing since?
Like I said, it's such a roller coaster. I feel like every day is different. And just navigating everybody's feelings, especially as a mom. I want to make sure that my girls are okay. But at the same time, just being able to process it myself. And then, extended family. And it impacted a lot. His aunts, his uncles, his grandparents, his cousins, his friends. But we're very lucky that we have such a supportive group in our family. It's something every day that, even after over a year, we're still learning, to navigate this new, life that without Ben. And, and there are days that, we could talk about it, we laugh, remember stories. I think that brought us a lot of, joy, is remembering all the memories. And the girls, share their stories. And for Lewis and I, hearing stories that we didn't even know about.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's every day is different. Every day is different.
Yeah. Almost learning things about your son through this process that, just sounds like added to just the love and respect that you have for him, that his experiences were beyond just yours. That was a spread in the community. And that sounds like that has given you support during your time.
Yeah. And to see just how many people he has had an impact on, his 18 years of life and his wake, his funeral, so many people just believe, just to hear the stories of how special he was, not just to us, not just to his family, but to his friends, to people that, I've never even met. And just the stories that they were able to share with us about him. And that does help, bring a little peace and to know just how loved he was, not just by us, but by everybody.
Yeah. And I would imagine over this year, continuing to hear those stories and the memories staying alive for you all.
Yeah.
I know you both started a foundation, and Ben was diagnosed when he was young with autoimmune hepatitis. Can you explain a little bit about this and how it's impacted his life and the foundation?
Yes. Ben, at an early age, when he was about 6 years old, got diagnosed with autoimmune hepatitis, with PSC as well, which is a secondary disease that comes with it. And the autoimmune is your body attacks the liver. PSC, which is primary sclerosing cholangitis, affects the bile ducts of the liver. And that's something that, it's a progression. He kind of dealt with that throughout his life pretty much, taking medications every day. But again, it didn't really seem to affect him in a way that he didn't see himself any different. He still continued. The only difference is that, we couldn't do extreme things, because sometimes with that condition, your spleen gets swollen. Okay. And so any hit to that area can damage something. And so we kind of looked out and say, hey, you can't do certain things. You can't do this, no wrestling, or, not that he was a wrestler, but, anything physical.
He would have occasional flare-ups, and we'd just have to, adjust his medications and stuff. But for the most part, it didn't have a huge, impact on his life or his daily activity. But when he got older, as a teenager, with the medication, it was harder. Why do I have to take all this medicine every day? I got tired of it because he felt okay. He didn't try to understand, okay, well, you're feeling okay because you are taking the medication. As he got older, kind of every day reminding him, Ben, don't forget, take your medicine. Don't forget, take your medicine.
And I think also, as he got older too, I think he wanted to understand that disease a little more. And I'm sure he read up on it, without letting us know, and read, what the outcomes are going to be, or what the outcome potentially could be in the future. And I'm not sure if that affected him in any way, but he wouldn't talk about that part. But I'm sure he was researching as he got older so he can understand it better. Because I remember he would say when he was younger, am I going to die from this? You know what I mean? And we were like, no, because we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't tell him that. We don't know. This was new too. So, but I knew that affected him later down the line when he got older.
And he kept it private, I think, because like his friends, as he got older, his friends, some of them didn't even know he had it.
Yeah, I was wondering, it's one of those invisible, and you just may not know what he's dealing with that day.
Right.
How do you think that impacted him?
I know early on it was hard when, like I said, when he would have the flare-ups, they would have to put him on the prednisone. And so with the steroid, his face would swell up.
Yeah.
When he was younger, he was on it for a while. And we even see pictures of him, and he's like unrecognizable. And when he got older, I think he was about 15 or 16, he had a flare up. And right away, he was hospitalized. And right away, he's like, do I have to go back on that medicine? I said, well, that's a possibility. And he just started, I remember him crying. And that was when I didn't realize how much it impacted him. It was just so normal for, every day, okay, take your medicine, Ben. But it wasn't something, like I said, that impacted his daily life. And so when he was hospitalized that time, when he was a teenager, and when he cried, he's like, I don't want to go on that medicine. And I think that was like, wow, wait, hold on. He is, really thinking about this, or it has impacted him more than what I had realized. And he's like, I don't want to look like that again. And my face has swelled up. Luckily we reassured him, the doctor reassured him it would only be a short time. It's not a high dosage this time. And, then he was okay with it. Learn to understand, the benefits of the medication.
Can you tell us a little bit about the foundation and the focus of the foundation?
Sure. So the Ben Lopez Foundation, prior to making arrangements, we were getting all kinds of things coming our way in terms of monetary flowers. And we were more like, we want to give this away to charity, but we didn't know how, and we didn't know what, or even how to do that. And so that's where the thought came in about the foundation. Would we start a foundation? But again, we didn't know how or where to start. So the seed was planted at that time, and we wanted to do something that really represented Ben and who he was and how he lived.
We knew there had to be some purpose out of this, something.
We didn't want to do anything in terms of how he died, but more how he lived. And so the programs that we established through the foundation was Ben, autoimmune hepatitis. Want to give money for research because there is no cure for that. And so we were established within 3 months. We were a non-for-profit, established with a 501c3 status. And so the purpose of the foundation, or the Benjamin Lopez Foundation, was to provide charitable support for autoimmune hepatitis, specifically in the areas of PSC, to provide also scholarships for students in Pathways, which is the school that he attended for 2 months. But they were really good to him. They helped him out. He had a rough time, his senior year. And so we wanted to give back to those kids that are having rough times. And so we started the Benjamin Lopez Scholarship. So we just gave out our first 2 scholarships last year.
Oh, that's great.
That's awesome.
Ben was also a organ donor. He was registered. We went down to the DMV when he turned 17 and asked me if he wanted to be a donor. And I said, Ben, you want to be a donor? He's like, sure. But we didn't expect anything like this.
Right.
And so we added that to one of our programs, and we really like to educate the public what steps, what happens, because a lot of us don't understand it, really.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. It's the process, and we added that to the program, and that is our mission. That's how the foundation was established, and that is our focus, and that is Ben.
Well, and I can just imagine Ben would be very proud, and I'm sure you feel that way too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm very, very proud. I mean, it brings us peace. Although there's a dark side to this, right? And but that's peaceful for us, knowing that always remember him, right? But we are still going to give out to others just like he did. And the 2 students that they got the scholarship were very grateful. We not looking for 4.0 GPAs or anything like that. Tell us your story.
Based on character. For us, one of his best qualities was his heart, and his character.
Well, it sounds like you're looking for values similar to what, Ben lived by, which from what you've said is love and compassion and caring. he seems like he was very authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like the foundation, the really goal is to connect with more individuals like Ben. And it almost sounds like something he would have done himself, give like his last dollar to someone else or help make opportunities. And it sounds like the foundation is really about creating a more compassionate, equitable world for all, really helping in Ben's memory. And I really feel that that's what you're doing.
Yeah. We didn't want to focus on the gun violence, although it's part of the story as well. But, we didn't want to add that to the program or anything. We would like to, be more resourceful with that part of it, but that wasn't who he was. And so going back to the donor, there was 3 recipients that received his tendons and tissues in Brooklyn, New York. There was an individual in Denver, an individual here in Illinois. And so his spirit is starting to move around. That's more meaningful to us.
Is the foundation, does it provide, or can you suggest any resources for families and our listeners about AIH, being impacted by gun violence? Because you have lived through this. What would you recommend to the families and listeners?
Well, as far as with the gun violence, I know something that was beneficial in the beginning. In the beginning, it's such a fog. You just, you don't know what's going on. But one resource was the Chicago Survivors, and they provided different things for victims of gun violence in Chicago, and just resources as far as grief counseling, family counseling. I believe if you go on their website, they have even as far as like for siblings, specifically for siblings. So that I think would be, great resource for families.
Then we also have the Autoimmune Hepatitis Association. You can find them at the www.aihep.org. And that's also on the website. There's a link there, and they provide you with information and resources as to, wanting to know more about the disease. How can you find a doctor? What does this really mean? What types of autoimmune hepatitis are there for different areas? And it's a very resourceful information there that helps a lot. And that's also on the website that is part of the link too.
Can listeners donate to the foundation?
Yeah, they can go into the www.benlopezfoundation.org. There is a donation page there too. We've gotten donations from all over. We do once a year fundraiser, and we just keep it at once a year. That's it. And all the proceeds go to our programs, 100%.
Excellent.
I know there's a lot of families that I've spoken to in the last couple of months that have endured a similar loss. Just based on your experience, is there anything that you would share with listeners of what has been helpful for you just in starting to even grapple with some of your feelings of grief?
Yeah. One of the things that I started to look at, and this is, again, it's not bad and it's nothing bad for anyone, but process of grieving, it's different for everyone. And it's hard because not everybody grieves the same. One of the things that you come across a lot would be, I'm sorry for your loss. I have no words. I don't know what to say. These are just common words that people say because they really don't know what to say, right? And you hear that all the time, but then I felt there has to be something that you could say, right? Because we have to allow you to say that. And it's okay to talk about Ben, or share stories about Ben. And so what we learned is that we have to open up, invite the people in to tell us it's okay. There's no reason to run away. There's no reason to hide. There's a reason that you can't get a phone call or whatever. It's okay, because that's going to help you and it's going to help us. And there's a lot of people that they just don't know what to say. They don't know it either, so it's nothing wrong with that. It's that we just don't know. So we have to educate each other and tell each other that it's fine. Simple text, I'm thinking about you. It's very helpful.
Yeah. Keeping that memory alive.
Mm-hmm.
Just in terms of the way that you wrapped your arms around your family and, we talk about successful parenting, but, just hearing your story and what I've heard from my friend is you've really shown up as parents in such a genuine way. I sense that Ben is wrapping his arms around you all as well. And it's touching to hear how much you care for your family and you love your family. And clearly Ben felt that too, because it sounds like he had such a genuine spirit of love that typically gets learned by parents. And so I'm guessing he felt that as well. So I'm just so grateful for you sharing your story and really being an example of what, real, true, successful parenting means and just showing up for whatever that means.
Thank you. We appreciate it. As you know, as parents, we just always try to do our best, right? And, just like even, like I said, this weekend, my oldest is graduating from college, and or just had a conversation with her. She's like, Mom, I feel bad. There's something about it. I'm not like she's excited, but then she feels bad being excited. Al, she's like, Ben's not going to be there. Our kids were very close. Of course, when they were younger, they were typical siblings. But as they got older, as teenagers, I feel like they were best friends. And for her not to have him at her graduation, I reminded her, Ben would want you, to be excited and to celebrate. And even on her cap, she has the saying, she has as promised Ben, because it's been very hard for the last year, being away from us at college and grieving on her own days, on her own. But she did it. I want her to be proud of that. And both girls have persevered through all of this. And
we're so proud of them.
Yeah. It's hard, and we know it's hard for them. And we just need to give them grace, give each other grace, that, we're all doing the best that we can.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being with us. And listeners, we will have the resources that we spoke about today, and we will keep you in our thoughts. And thank you for coming and just sharing your family and your life with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Robin and Jackie. And we appreciate you both.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you both so much.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, and make sure to subscribe and like us to catch our next episode, where we will take you on a journey to find new ways of successful parenting.